Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Mass Swingers. I'm here with I am Brian. Stupid. Okay. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Mass Swingers. Today we have Vanessa Duffy with us. Vanessa Duffy is a marketing guru. She's a marketing director for some famous brands, and we brought her on today because she's actually featured in the first print episode of Playboy in over 5 years. We brought her in not just to talk about her experience with lifestyle and having monogamous and non-monogamous relationships, but she's actually here to help guide you through your own relationship stuff and talk about how they ended up in Playboy in the first place. If that sounds interesting to you, then you won't want to miss this. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And that being said, let's hop on in. Oh no, I'm nervous today. All right, ready? What's up, Vanessa?
What's up? What's up?
Actually, I should start with you. Hold on. Let's go back. Look at that. She's mad.
Hey.
No, we're gonna hop in and then we'll go.
He's all like, I'm so nervous. Hey, Vanessa.
Yeah. What's up, Layla?
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, Brian. Hi, Layla.
Hi.
Thanks for being on the podcast with us today.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
Yep, none of us are nervous at all about this episode.
Brian's been nervous all day.
On the edge of our seat, we're like, how are we going to get through this without ripping our clothes off?
I
just
know.
My clothes are already
Daylight?
ripping off. I broke a
Seeing you in
button. I broke a
daylight.
button on
And
the
his
way
birthday's
here.
on Monday. So
My birthday is on Monday.
I don't know. Look at it. Look.
You know what that means? I have been working out so much because I have to post a picture in the WhatsApp group.
The pressure, dude. The pressure.
But we just found out it doesn't have to be nude anymore.
No, it
It
does.
It does?
It
You think he
does.
just said that to give
He
someone a
gave him
pass?
one pass.
He
The
got
rest
one
of you
pass.
guys will get shade.
Wow. Yeah, we'll see.
I threw titties in there as tribute.
You
You know what I
did.
mean? I was just like, the people demand the news.
You did. Thank you for
Yeah.
doing that.
Can always appreciate that.
But no, we're excited to have you here today because we've been friends for a while now. So I don't actually know. How long have you been E&M?
I've been in this space for about 8 years now, and I've done like all of the things. So I've gone from open to monogamous to BDSM to poly to throuple. Like it's been kind of like a big mix of everything in between.
You've been in a throuple too.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. This is all news to me. So 8 years.
Mhm.
And before that, were you it's like, okay, so have you always been like a down ass chick? Like just like
You know, I've definitely had sort of like a mentally kinky sort of mindset. I was a late bloomer, like I lost my virginity at like 21, but I've always just been like very flirty and like even like solo masturbation. It's just like I would think of the most like taboo things and that would get me off. And so when I got into relationships, I was like, let's fucking go, like sneaky blowjobs in Ubers, public sex, and just like dirty talk, role play. Like,
so you were 21. What made you wait so long?
I just don't know if I've felt it really. Like, I was also a late bloomer, like to attractiveness. Like, I was an awkward, nerdy person, like weirdo that like just didn't have like a ton of connections and stuff like that. I feel like that's what I love so much about the community is like everyone's their own version of weird and it's embraced. I'm like,
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. I feel like I can finally be my authentic self. I've always been too loud, too obnoxious, too touchy, too flirty my whole life. And it wasn't until I entered this lifestyle where I'm like, this is like my personality type, our personality types are
Yeah.
celebrated. It's so empowering.
Yeah.
You
like,
know?
Yes. Weirdos are hot.
So what
Weirdos
were
are
you like
hot.
in high school?
I definitely hung out with like the quirky group. You know what I mean? Like I ended up blossoming like probably like from 10th to 11th grade, like my ass and my hips grew. And I was like so self-conscious myself. And then all of my guy friends started like hitting on me. And it was the weirdest thing. So I just like was relatively a loner for a little while until I was like, fuck this, found my weirdos and kind of settled in from there.
So you weren't like a cool girl in high school.
I wouldn't classify myself as that,
Man,
no.
I think the best people in the world
Social
are,
towards the end, yes, but not the popular kid initially, no.
this makes sense because I think the best people in the world today were late bloomers.
Yep.
The people who were popular in high school, they peaked early.
Peaked.
Yep.
Yeah.
We
So
had to develop personalities at a young age.
have you been
I
back to like a high school reunion and walked in and people were like, who the fuck are you?
Oh, I went to like the 10-year one because I had a girlfriend who like I used to fool around with and stuff like that actually. But like my first experiences were like with women. And so she really wanted to go, and it was like a really weird, interesting sort of thing. There's only like maybe 20 people who showed up, which is the same groups that and I grew up in LA, so it wasn't really anything super unique. Like we just went to a bar hopping.
Because when I say you're down, I didn't mean that sexually. Like you are. This is what I know about you. Is like you ride a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
Yoshi.
Yoshi. I love
Yep.
that you guys know who she. Let's go
Yoshi.
for a ride. Let's go for
Yes.
a ride.
Enter Yoshi right here. And I'm going to hold. Yep, there we go. I'll do a little image.
Do you wait? Do you skydive too?
Mhm.
My
You can like
God.
skydive solo, right? You've done enough jumps. Do you
Yeah, I
own
was
a
in the middle.
parachute?
I was in the middle of certification, so I've done about 7 solo dives.
And you need 10 to get your own chute, or what's
Yeah,
the rule?
10 consistently. So I have to technically start over.
Okay.
But it
Is
was a lot of fun.
is that a goal to get your own chute?
I think eventually that would be really fun because I love the people who like jump out together and do like the little acrobatics in the air,
Like
like
the little designs, we're like
see
all holding hands and
little
being
star. Yeah,
precious.
wouldn't that just be so fun? Let's do
Oh my
it.
God. Okay. No, I'd rather die, honestly. I
Layla,
would.
And you probably will. What a great way to go.
Honestly, I would be more scared flying up. I think just because I hate flying. So I think I'd be trying to jump out of the plane before they're telling me to. So I think that would be my problem.
You would have
So
hated it because it was a very like shaky, tiny plane.
I'm going to break out in a sweat.
I would never take you skydiving with me.
No,
You would be the worst.
no, no, just driving over here. I'm like, Rand's like,
She's the
what's
worst
wrong
person
with
to
you?
2
drive
miles over
with.
the speed limit.
Yeah, I'm a backseat driver.
You're so bad. Like my car's been hit one time. It was her.
It's true. I hit his
That's why she has
car.
the fear.
Yeah, see, I'm just brave.
Okay, so then all right, so you've been in for a while, which makes sense because so before we move on to the rest of the episode, I have this FetLife question to ask
Mhm.
because I had this so like I feel like all the OGs in the space were on FetLife at some point.
Mhm.
And you're nodding your head, yes, like this is probably true. And so when I first started getting into the space, I would look on FetLife. I'd be like, man, who are these LA people? And I kind of made like a hit list almost of people who were like, I really want to connect with these people. And I've hit most of them, but there's a couple I didn't. And one of the ones I've never met, because I don't think they're in the space anymore, I think I seen you on their profile.
Mm,
So I just want to, can I confirm if this is you or not?
let's see
All
it.
right. So
Ooh,
I haven't
it's,
been on FetLife in a minute.
too
I know.
soon.
So is this you holding the
Yes.
ruler? That's
That
you?
is me holding the ruler,
That's you
yes.
holding the
Yeah,
ruler.
yeah.
All right. I
Oh, and
thought
my
so.
sweet baby girl, I miss her. Of
You know who that is, right?
course I do. She's like the filthiest
Say
slut, you
that. You can
guys.
say
You guys. She was like I had so much fun with her. She was such a little cum slut. Like she just loved licking it off of people. Like I would baby bird spit it back into her mouth. You guys, it
that's
was
That's so
why
so good.
that's why it was
cute.
like top of the list. I want to meet this person because the FetLife profile was wild. And I
Where
was
is
like,
this girl?
whoa.
Where,
San
They
Diego.
close to me.
but they left the space.
Oh, dope.
And that's one thing we wanted to talk about. So like people do come and go
Yeah.
in the E&M space. And you've been in for quite some time.
Mhm.
And so like how often do you think single people stay in the space? Some like there's a narrative sometimes, right, in the
Mhm.
world that like this E&M doesn't work, right? Or
Mm.
that we all end up getting divorced eventually, our relationships end. And like I know that that's not true, but you've been here longer, so I feel like you would know that's not true better than either of us. And so if I asked you rapid fire, like of the couples that were here 8 years ago when you got here, what percentage do you think are still couples?
Ooh, a lot actually. Honestly, probably at least 75, 80%. Like in the
Damn,
last 8 years who have consistent and some of them will like still go consistently to parties or not as much or host, you know what I mean? It's like the frequency can vary, but they're still very much together and active in lifestyle.
damn.
Okay, so I don't know much about you, so I'm gonna just like go off script because I don't read the scripts. Um, so
Layla never reads these scripts.
well, thank God for you. You bring me back down to earth. So let's
I don't
see.
even use
I
Chat
studied, I
GPT.
rehearsed.
I don't even use AI for the scripts. I like physically write the
Let's see
scripts.
how you can transition this then.
Okay. Go.
So, um, you entered the lifestyle space 8 years ago as a single woman.
No.
No.
So I was in at the time I was in a monogamous relationship for about 6 years and for about the last year of that I think it was sort of like uh, a bit of a last ditch effort to be like, oh, like let's open it up. Like I was a workaholic. He worked night shifts. Like we just didn't get to see each other, and it just the connection wasn't necessarily there. So we had opened it up because I really missed being with women, and so I think after some time and conversations, and he did a lot of his research too, to his credit, found some podcasts and things to try to help wrap his mind around it. And we attempted, but it sort of ended up being he wanted to have a simple like family, kids, that kind of life. And, as you just described me, I'm quite a bit of a wild child. So we just
Uh-huh.
parted ways, entered the brave new world of the dating apps, and stuff like that, and plugged in there that I was interested in an open relationship. Met my ex of 4 years, and then we entered it together. So I think that's incredibly unique, entering lifestyle together. It was a bit of a leg up. Did you guys have to like? Were one of you in lifestyle first before the partner, or like how did you guys do it?
So my husband and I, we entered the lifestyle at the same time. We've been together for 13 years,
Hmm.
and we entered the lifestyle like 4.5, 5 years ago.
Hmm.
And it was my idea because I'm a cut queen. So
Yeah. Oh,
I am obsessed with watching my husband fuck hot girls.
hell yeah.
And so he'd be fucking me for years. I'd be like, tell me about a time you like fucked another girl. And so he's like telling me all these stories, and eventually he's repeating stories. And I'm like, we gotta go make
Make
some
some new
stories.
ones. You're
And
the
so
best wife
that's
ever.
how it happened. But it took him a little bit of time to kind of become okay with the idea of us because we kind of went in head first. We accidentally became polyamorous. Um,
Accidentally. Wait. What do you mean accidentally?
so we opened up our marriage and we didn't really know that we had to set like boundaries and agreements. So we're
Mm.
like, let's just fucking do whatever the hell we feel like. And I started dating this guy, and him and I established feelings, and my husband dated this girl, and they established feelings. And when I told him, like, hey, like, C told me that he's falling in love with me, my husband was like, cut that shit down immediately. There's no fucking way we're gonna have feelings. Cut to 2 weeks later, he's like, I think I might be falling in love with R. And I'm all like, how are you gonna tell her? Like, I live for it. I love it. But it took my husband a
Mm.
little bit more time to wrap his head around it. Was it initially your idea to open up the relationship, or was it your old partner's idea?
It was mine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
How did they respond to that?
I thought that he would respond better than he did because it was women, and I thought it would be less threatening, and it's really not the case. And so, but I think, he was battling his own insecurities and stuff. It's a challenge in any capacity. I think he knows how bi I am, and like, that is a true, like, it was a realistic possibility where like might have left him for a woman. And so I think
Mm.
it was hard for him to sort of reconcile that, but then knowing that like, I was like, "Okay, well, then maybe we should shift towards figuring out how to split." And then he was like, "No, okay, 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 I'll try it." And
Oh, that's the worst. When
yeah.
people try it and you don't that was my experience too, was like I was in a relationship before and I felt like women were down to try it because I really wanted to try it and they just wanted to stay with me. And I
Yeah.
think they felt like if they didn't try it, the relationship would end. So then they tried it, but it always felt a little forced. And at least in my experience, it felt like I was kind of forcing them to do it.
Yeah.
Mm.
I wonder if you felt like that. Like when you did do stuff with him, did it feel awkward when it happened? Or did
Ye
it never happen?
No, well, again, I think because our schedules were so awful, so, like, he would try to schedule dates when it worked for him, and then I would schedule dates when it worked for me. Like, we never actually ended up
Oh.
having the threesomes. I would just have my solo dating with, like, women, and then ultimately, like, asked him if he would be comfortable with me switching to guys, and then, you know
Was he?
Ooh.
Was he? I know.
That would
I was
be
waiting for
tough.
that.
That you were
Uh,
waiting for my
uh
response to
huh.
that?
I love hearing Brian. So I guess we'll say something, and I'm like 3, 2, 1, and
You
he's
guys know
like,
each other so
Oh.
oh
well.
man. Um,
So that would like, oh man,
well,
well, that was probably his worst fear, right? Is like, because for guys, right? Because it
right.
seems like having a threesome would be most guys' dream, right? Two girls,
That's
but
what I thought.
but in the back of our minds, is like, but eventually she's gonna want to fuck a guy, and then
Mm,
what am I gonna do? Especially at that point, if she can throw it at me like, oh, you've slept with 5 girls, it's my turn.
like your turn to fuck other girls. That's what you're saying.
No, no, no. Like, all right, I've slept with 8 women or whatever. We had
Uh huh.
8 threesomes with women. And eventually Vanessa wants to sleep with a guy, right?
Mm.
So, but now she's got like this body of work on me, right? We're like, I've let you sleep with 8 women.
I've
So when I
let
come to
you.
this and now I want to sleep with a guy, like I think I can see that causing tension and stop people from. I'm not saying I feel this way
No.
because
Well, Brian.
Layla always looks at me like she wants to coach me. I'm saying that this is what I hear from a lot of guys.
Sure. I
Yeah,
think a lot of guys keep tabs. That's what I'm saying. I
could
think.
be.
Well, I think some people in general will keep tabs. Like, you've fucked 10 people, and I've only fucked one, and that's not fair. And
put in more work. I mean,
that's what I'm saying, you
and
know?
I did feel bad, right? Because it's like his schedule didn't really allow for him to go on as many dates as I think I had some of the flexibility to. So I do think that that was probably challenging as well. But like by the time I had opened it up to guys, like we had already communicated that we were phasing out of the relationship.
Mm,
So, but we were like trying to finish out the lease together. Like it was just a bit complicated, but
okay.
yeah, we did our best to try to keep it amicable. But I could see it being hard to your point. And it's interesting that you say that, right? Because is that a fear that you have? Because I know your partner. You've commented a couple of times to me because I go ham for his fucking partner, dude. She's so hot,
I
and he's like, "You're just in it. You're just in it for her. You're just in it for her." And I'm like, "No,
So,
I'm not. Like, I like you too."
you're such an interesting anomaly for my relationship. Do not. I hope I do not get in trouble for talking about this on a podcast. My wife listens now, so I'm like, ugh.
You're hot. You're hot. You're hot.
So my wife
I'm gonna
loves
take
you.
you.
My wife loves you because you're bi.
Yeah,
And she was like, she says she can tell who's bi and who isn't when
it's
she makes out
true.
with them.
Are you bi?
Yeah,
Okay, and you can tell just by kissing girls. Like there is a difference energetically.
totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different. Like the last girlfriend I had, we dated for like 4 months. And we, met at a sex party. And at first I was like, yeah, like I'll kiss any girls or I'll kiss anyone, honestly. Cause I'm like, it's fun. Let's like have some experiment and let's have some fun. And we're kissing and we were like, we melted into each other. And that's when I was like, oh my God, I'm in love. So yes, I'm very bi.
Okay, so you can tell when someone's bi, and so you and my wife are like magnets.
Mhm.
And so sometimes when you some like one time I'll just give an example. Remember we went to go see Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes.
All right. So we walked in and we're just trying to walk to our seats. And like, I'm just trying to find the seats so we can watch this freaking movie. And then I turn around and Vanessa has my wife slammed against the wall at the entrance and they were just making out. And so I'm awkwardly standing there for like 3 minutes. Like, it
We'll
felt like
spit out my
forever. And I
water.
was like, do I jump in? Do I not jump in? Like, do I grab you and take you to the seats? People were like
Ooh.
awkwardly walking around them trying to get into the theater. So there's this certain level of just like, I don't know where to put myself sometimes with them. Right. I'm not
Brian's like, what do I do
jealous.
with my hands? Do I here,
Just
here,
right,
here?
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Bless your heart.
Which I get. And so anyway, so obviously you're smart. You never do that with me in front of my wife, right? Which is smart because you're smarty. So then I was like, man, there was a part of me at one point where I was like, I think Vanessa likes my wife, and I'm just like the like plus one in this situation, which I was like, I'm fine with that. But eventually I was like, can you just tell me if that's what it is? So
You
I
I
know
did.
know where I
you've asked
fit.
me a couple times
Oh,
and
he
I'm like,
did.
"Brian, no."
Oh my gosh. I love a
I feel
cute
like
little
that has
vulnerable
since
Brian.
been laid to
It's
rest
been laid to rest. We
recently.
went out together. It wasn't a date. It was just the two of us though. We went out and like it was in Beverly Hills. It's that house party. Remember the backyard house party? We had the pictures. That dating app was launching, Blush.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I invited you for research for Candid.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And like I remember that night you told me that. I was like, no, Brian, I would totally hang out with you. Then you got into this relationship for 4 years. And
Mhm.
so like all the BDSM stuff, the kink stuff, you really started exploring then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're in this relationship and then that ends and then you're single again. So what was the transition like? So first time you became single, found this relationship.
Yes.
Then you got in a relationship, built a community, became single again. What was that transition like for you?
The breakup was super hard. Like we were a power couple in the lifestyle. And a lot of people sort of like idolize the relationship, like not knowing the broken pieces on the inside. And so I think, and at the time, like it was the first major breakup in the group. So I feel like we were kind of the guinea pigs. People didn't know what to do. It was like a bad divorce, and the kids are like, "Mom, Dad, what do
Oh.
we do?" And it was really challenging. And are you guys the type to like, when you go through a breakup or go through heartbreak, like, are you the kind to get over people by getting under people, or do you recluse?
No, I'll recluse. Yeah, I'm not
That's
much of
so
a.
interesting because you said that you're very flirty, very like,
Oh yeah.
and you're just like, okay, interesting.
Yeah, I will cry in a corner by myself before I'll just like go fuck random people. Cause I've said this on the pod a lot. I'm not a horny person,
Mhm.
which is I know, see? Shocking.
Interesting. Yeah.
I crave attention.
Mm.
I don't crave sex.
Huh.
So I go to parties and I like to give off the type of sexual aura that I feel like I don't have permission to give in vanilla world. So
Mm.
that's why I like going. So I would never have sex with someone to feel better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
How about you?
I think I get under people real
Yeah,
fast.
I was like, I
That's
already
like
know the answer
crazy.
to this
Uh-huh.
I
one.
go like premium on every app available. Like the moment I'm single,
Yes, yes,
I
yes,
go.
yes.
I'm
Who
like,
wants the 2 o'clock? Who wants a three
Right?
o'clock? Like,
I'm like book flight to Colombia tomorrow. Well, I met you right as it was like you had just broken up, and
yeah.
that's when we met. And I want to say you weren't really playing. I think you were kind of taking a step back.
It was tough. Like I did take a break from play and dating even altogether. Like I think I was just emotionally depleted and I'm similar to you, right? So like I went into my cave and I still attended like the vanilla events and connected with the community, but that part of it was super hard. Like it took a lot for me to like get my libido back and be and it like you missed like prime Vanessa, as people would say, like I in a partnership, actually, and this is an interesting insight that I had, post breakup is like even though like we had our challenges, having somebody to come home to allowed me to be so much more of a hoe at parties.
Mm,
As a single girl, that wasn't the case. And I actually thought that was super surprising. I was like, all right, I'm starting to get back into it, single girl era. I'm going to go be a total slut. It was not, dude. It was so interesting. And like, it's just like the mind body disconnect and like me not wanting intimacy in general, but realizing that like my body craves that in some capacity as a demisexual to enjoy the sexual part of it. So,
mm.
like, navigating that still, like, coming into that has been a challenge.
Do you still consider yourself demisexual?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
when you're at a party, just for example, would you have sex with someone or hook up with someone if you didn't have an emotional connection?
It doesn't necessarily have to be deep, but I have to, like, feel like I know who they are. Like,
Okay,
a conversation like this, even it's just like, "Hey," small talk, get an idea for, like, their ethics, their situation, whatever it is, and I'm like, "Okay, great, I'll be turned on."
got it.
Alternatively, even, like, if I talk to someone and this has happened a couple of times at parties where I'm like, "Oh my god, that guy or that girl is so hot," and just, like, I
Really? You can't
can't.
see them? Like you just don't see it?
I can't no, if it's just, like, over my head, like, I can't fuck them.
Oh,
I'm just like, "Ugh, I hate it.
interesting.
Hate it."
Wait, what are you
I wanna just
saying?
be like, I'm saying, like, if they're hot and dumb or
Got
hot
it.
and mean,
Mhm.
I can't just l I it's hard for me to just connect and
Yes.
I
be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna overlook that because 'cause you're hot, let's fuck."
If you were like hooking up with someone and a hot girl came that you've never seen before comes up and is like, grazing your back or whatever and was like, "Hey, like, can I join?" And
Mhm.
it's like a 10 out of 10, would you be like, "Yeah, join," or would you be like, "No, like we can chat later?"
No, I'd say, "Yeah, join." But I mean, even in just like the little pat and saying, "May I?" Right? It's like there's a respect and
Right,
consent
right, right,
component
right,
Got
there. If
it.
she just like blasted in, I'd have been
right.
like,
You
okay.
gotta catch the vibes.
But like, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think respect, and I think that was something that I appreciated learning doing BDSM first before entering the swinger space. It's like their rules are like so grounded and like are the foundation of the success of BDSM in dungeons. Like I'd feel safer at a dungeon than I would like in a nightclub. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
there's just those strict rules. And so carrying that over into the swinger space, it's just like I communicate as much as I can, get as much as understanding as like what people's rules of engagement are
Mm.
before continuing.
Will you take us to a dungeon?
Yeah, yeah,
I've
let's
never been to a
go.
dungeon. I've never been. I think my wife would go. I feel like you would
I
just
don't
have you been?
know. The only dungeon I've been to, I'll probably cut this part, is a
Mhm.
dungeon there. That's like
But that's like a room.
that's a room.
Yeah.
That's the most dungeon I've been in.
Oh man, I would love to go to a dungeon and we will recap this dungeon experience. But
Wait,
do not try to put me in a
okay,
cage.
fine,
See,
whatever.
exactly. See, that's what she's
I think
starting to
he's a sub
think.
at heart, Vanessa. He's a sub at heart, but I
Let's
don't
not
think he'll
even go
admit it.
here.
Look,
We're gonna move on.
I just want to put him in a cage and just like electrocute him and hit him with my
I
car.
love electric play. That's like one of my top, top, top favorite things to do. I love it.
We're gonna hang
Okay,
out.
so this makes sense though for you, like the demisexual part,
Yeah.
because you do get that. I think that's why with my wife, you're like
Mhm.
the brains are there too, right? So you're like immediately, and you are like that with certain. You're like that with me now too,
Yeah.
which I appreciate.
Yeah. I was like, "Is he dumb or is he not?" Okay, I'm like, I'm
You
kidding.
had to warm
So
up to though.
you know what? Actually, what happened? I think one day I was like, you know what? I think that I'm weird around you, and it's because I treat you in a weird. I don't know why. From now on, I'm just gonna like take you and just like not slap you around, but just like spank it a little bit. And she was like, please. I was like, all right, great. I think I just had you in like a separate category for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, you just never like were as engaging. You know, like you would socialize, but it wasn't like, and actually experiencing, like, let me know if you guys have this experience too, at least from a women perspective. We're there at a party on a silver platter. And I feel like for me, maybe it's just a demisexual thing. Like I need like assertiveness and flirtiness to really get in that mindset to want to fuck you, right?
100%.
Otherwise, if we're just small chatting, like I'm friend zone chatting you unless you're like, there's a shift. Unless I'm putting my dick on and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Then I'll like go full on alpha mode. But
Uh-huh.
like that's for women.
Yeah. Oh!
And some really awesome subby boys.
I don't think I've never been fucked with a strap on.
I have a kink for popping cherries.
I'm a virgin with all of that. So follow us on OnlyFans.
Yeah, right. Yeah, dungeon. All right, one dungeon, strap on. It's happening.
Done.
Okay. All right. Now, so then you were in a non-monogamous relationship.
Yes.
But then, okay, so then we hung out. So we met you, had
Mhm.
an awesome night, right? We're really looking forward to hanging out again. I love the smile. And then,
Because I've had the worst luck with you guys. Every time we reconnect, something's in the way and it's like it sucks, like the relationship stuff.
okay, so then really quickly, you ended up in
Stop hitting my
another,
chair. You're
okay,
messing up
my
my
bad.
audio.
You ended up in another
It's just my
relate. No,
hand.
you're putting your hand down. You ended up in another relationship, and this time it was monogamous. So then
Yeah.
after all of this, you went monogamous for a year.
What? What happened?
Yeah, it was a little under a year and it wasn't necessarily like intentional. I think I was probably single after that breakup for about 6 months. So we must have met like really close to that, which I do remember because I was super, super mad. And that was actually a really point of contention in the relationship, you guys.
Wait,
It was
what?
a sore point
We
for
were?
for my
Go
last
on.
partner. Go on.
Go
I
on.
didn't
The
know that. This is
drama.
new. Okay, say more.
Well, like you guys were the reason that like the conversation about background and lifestyle came up like abruptly. And I want to get your guys' thoughts on that too, but like just sort of rewinding, like I didn't go out to try to find a monogamous relationship. I think I was like feeling the energy again and like being like, okay, I think I'm open to like dating. And I wasn't even that active on the apps. And then there was a cute boy who just like liked a bunch of my photos on Instagram. That's like the new swipe these days. They're just
Or like the new poke on Facebook is
yeah,
just liking.
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. And so, and I was just like, "Oh, he looks cute." And then we went on a date and we just kind of hit it off. And I was nervous. I was just like, "How do I talk about all my friends being people that I've like predominantly fucked before?"
Mm.
And it was around holiday, around Christmas time, right? Because we had played
Yep.
late summer and something like that. And so he was out traveling and was chit-chatting and like kept asking questions in the sense of just like, what were you up to tonight? What were you up to tonight? And like to the point where I was talking to my therapist about like, how do I approach this conversation? And she was like, well, just ask like how, is this something that he wants to talk about because he wants to continue the relation, like elevate the relationship? Because we were just like play friends at this time. And so I was like, well, like, do you really want to know? And he was like, well, yeah. And I was like, well, I played with this couple, like, and he like lost it, dude. He was, yeah. And ever since then, I think he's met you a couple of times and he was just always like,
He was always weird with me. He was always weird with me, and I didn't know if he was just weird with everyone. But he's probably gonna see this too. I didn't know he was weird with everybody,
Who is
but
this?
he was always like standoffish with me. And I try to meet, especially 'cause we like you. I would try to be nice to your person.
a lot of my friends really, really tried. And it's just like, and in fairness, like it is a lot to put on somebody. It's just like, hey, here's my lifestyle. Here's like, especially for someone who like knows nothing of this world. Like it is a lot to digest. And it didn't come out in a way that I probably would have planned. I don't even know how I would have planned that. Like if you guys were to date, do you guys exclusively date like on E&M apps or do you
No,
fuck
I'll do
around?
Hinge, Tinder, and I've gone on dates where I'm like, okay, here's the
So it's
deal.
after you're already on the date, not
No,
beforehand.
beforehand I will. On the date, I'll go into more details about things if they ask. I appreciate like a polite curiosity.
Yeah.
And if they don't have that, then usually I'm like, I'm not sure if we're gonna connect. But their first question is, oh, what's wrong with your husband? So
Hmm.
I usually have to kind of guide them and show them what we're actually
Wait,
doing.
their
Yeah.
first question is, "What's wrong with your husband?"
Yeah, like you had to open up y'all's relationship because your husband wasn't giving you
Oh,
enough.
he's like
Like,
he's
was he bad in bed? Is he
damn.
not providing enough emotional support? That's every guy's first question.
Really?
hmm
I often experience that too in with my partnership of the 4 years where it was like we dated separately, and that was always like a hard line for us where it was like if he had a girl who was like, "Well, she obviously doesn't satisfy you," and I had guys say that too, we were just like,
Nope,
Yeah.
we do the same thing.
Damn.
"Yeah."
Yeah.
Damn. No, I've been trying on Hinge recently. It's like Hinge put a filter on that says where you can say you prefer non-monogamy.
I appreciate that because then it's you avoid these awkward ass conversations.
Yeah.
Usually, yeah. But I think they're still looking for a primary partner who's down for non-monogamy. I don't think I think
How do you
like
know?
so I'm a kind of an asshole about it. Like I know there's a paragraph I can put underneath it where I
Mhm.
can explain that I am partnered. I just don't do that.
Why?
But
Oh, no, I had that. That was like
so
I
I do too. I'm like, and I'll put a picture of my husband and
yeah,
I
yeah,
in one of the pictures.
yeah.
But why are you? What's wrong with you?
I have this story in my head that if I do that, I won't get the likes. But if the likes aren't turning into, possibilities anyway, I should just change it. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll add it and then we'll check in a month and
Okay.
see if anything different happened. I actually
Yeah.
think putting my wife might be really helpful.
Yes.
Helpful, honestly.
Yes. Well, one, she's beautiful, and two, it's going to make that other person probably trust you more because you're
Yeah.
transparent and authentic and cool and fun. And look, he pulled this like hot, beautiful girl.
Sure.
Like
That's
how
exactly what
much
you would
has
think.
okay, well, how much success have you had not putting anything, going on a date and explaining it and still continuing to see this person?
I mean, that's how I got married.
And then
I mean, since then, 0, but, like, it worked out
okay,
one
so
time.
you have no proof of concept
No, so
here, like
we'll switch it up. I'm with you. I got you. Okay, but I wanna go back to you because
Okay.
you have all these non-monogamous friends, including women,
Mhm.
like, hella unicorns. Like, did you ever do anything? Like, did you ever have a threesome at all?
I I wanted to, and it was a part of the conversation, but I think going back to like how the conversation about me having a past and being a part of lifestyle like was so much for him to absorb. I think he was just sort of immediately dropped into like a place of unsafety. And like the thought of even that was like, you're trying to rope me into this community. I don't think I want that. Like, you need to give me time, you know? And I think that's normal. Like with I've seen lots of couples who have brought vanilla people and they've like taken a bit of a slower pace and then guided them into this and then have had success. And so I thought it might have been something in that realm, you know, and it turned out not sort of going in that direction. But I think that would have been fun. I think he would have been a really fun asset if he
If you're listening, we're still open to, I don't know. I don't know how it ended, but
Yeah, it
like,
was
it's the
it's
water's
not
out.
too
The
late
water's
to
warm.
no, that ship has sailed. But I know
You stay out of here.
but
There we go.
I
I
remember
helped.
I will speak for my wife right now. I
Yeah.
remember my wife was kinda bummed because she was like, "Vanessa went out, met this really hot guy, and we all wanna play with him, and he will not play with" like, he had all these other women that were, like, down to do it.
Dude, the girls were stoked and like
And that's so hot too, because like for the most part, we go to a party and we could be like, "Do you want to fuck?" Like any of the guys would be like, "Yeah," but to have
yeah.
a guy say no, it's kind of like,
Well, but for
oh,
him it was like and it's not exclusive to monogamous people because I've seen you've kind of expressed this too. For him, I think he thought if I invited a girl, that would mean at some point he has to be okay with me being with a guy. And that was the hang up
okay.
between like crossing that bridge. Um, if he was further along and like really growing like emotionally and thinking about it in a different way, like he would have probably killed. Like he would have been great.
Mm.
But he, you know, and like you and like a lot of my other guy friends were like so nice to him and you know, knowing that like one, it's not easy to like you guys fully understand how complicated it is to like know that like I fucked your girl, I still want to be cool with you.
Mm.
You know, let alone like a world that he knows nothing about, feels left out, feels like he's behind. It's just it was too much.
May I ask, like, and this is probably on script, so don't yell at me. Um, when you went from that monogamous relationship, and then I'm sure y'all broke up, and if maybe the isolating and all that, but like when you entered back into the scene and were going to parties and having that kind of fun, did you feel liberated?
No. I mean, not
Mm,
that I didn't feel liberated, but this sort of like what I said before, like I thought I would be so much more
mm.
promiscuous and slutty and hoey and live my like finally single girl like dreams and it
Mhm.
was just
That's so
The
interesting.
yeah.
It's so interesting. So where are you at now? Are you in a relationship now or are you
No, no. I mean, I had sort of like accidentally stumbled into a throuple. So, like it's such like you accidentally stumbled to
Yeah.
poly. That's why I was laughing. I was like, see, it does. Accidents happen.
Oopsie.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
love
not
you.
like they were an accident, but it was like it like we realized at some point we're like, oh, we're dating and didn't like, you know, really we talked about it, but I don't think it was all of our first times doing it. And we were all like pretty well connected. And in retrospect, like I would have liked to have had more conversations about like, oh, what does this look like? What about this? What about that? Because like I usually like to be super proactive in like understanding where everyone sits. And like they
Mm,
identified as super poly. And then, I think one of them wasn't particularly honest about that. And it just like, which is fine, and then that person spoke up for themselves and it hurt, because I, sort of was left to just kind of like be okay. But I think at the same point, like I love that they had that experience because I think E&M shows you like the cracks that might be in your foundation when you think everything's okay. And if you have the opportunity to work on those as a couple, you strengthen your relationship ultimately. And so I have so much respect for, that person for speaking up for themselves and they're taking the time to rebuild. And like, again, yeah, sad, heartbroken, but like ultimately it's what happens in this lifestyle, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Everyone gets stronger if they really put effort towards it.
Mo says that our space is 90% therapy and 10% play.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that.
Like I feel like
He's
I
got his feelings corners at every party. I love it, dude.
Well, he's just like if you have the courage to have the hard conversations here, you can have hard conversations about anything.
Mhm.
At that point, if you can like then who took the trash out doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think he's right. I didn't actually know you were did that end recently?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, just around holiday time, but it's alright.
I'm sorry, babe. But like do you think that you could do polyamory again at some point if the opportunity presented itself?
I initially what I loved about that too was like I didn't know if polyamory was something that was for me. I think only knowing like open relationship, primary partnership, and like, the rules of engagement were like we had connections with people, but there wasn't a ton of conversations about like what happens if we fall in love with people. Like it just never really got to that point. Because this community is predominantly couples and friendliness and stuff like that. So experiencing that relationship, and then I sort of realized afterwards that oh, I had deeper feelings than I thought I did. And it really sort of made me think, I'm like, could I do that? Could I actually explore polyamory in that sense? And so we'll see. It's definitely opened up the door.
That's gonna be a big year for you.
What did she say?
I just I just
I
I,
love you. I'm in love with you. No, I mean, I think that's so cool though, because like I don't want red tape in my life when it comes to love,
Hmm.
right? Like I want to and because I've always, like I said, I've been too loving and too like, oh my gosh, like I feel like I fall in love with my friends,
Yeah.
you know?
Hmm.
And so, and I have sex with my friends and I'm attracted to my friends. And instead if I'm dating somebody and I'm falling in love with them, I want to express that
Yeah.
and I want to tell them. And so I'm like, I don't think I could ever go back to monogamy. I think that ship has sailed. So the
Yes.
fact that you kind of live this lifestyle and then put yourself kind of back in this box, I imagine that was a really difficult transition.
It was, but only because of the resistance between me and my friendships. And I
Mm,
communicated that multiple times where I was like, if you're going to make me choose me or my friends, like you're losing, like
mhm.
flat out, straight up.
It's fucking
but that's
dope.
adulthood too, right? At this
Yeah.
point, like your friends are your friends.
They're
Like
my
they're your
family.
family.
No, this
Yeah.
community is literally my family. Like the weirdos were accepted. We wanted that growing up. And like, here it is. I'm like, not getting rid of that.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
All right, can I ask a wild question? Because this isn't even on the list.
Wow.
It's not even on the.
We're over
I'm
here
just
talking about.
curious. It's emotionally wild. I'm just curious because like one time recently, you did a thing at your house. It was like after a comedy show,
Mhm.
and I think we were the last people to leave. Me and my partner. And like now that you're saying this about like how it kind of feels when you go home by yourself and things like that. Like if like we were like, hey, do you want us to stay the night or like can we just stay here with you? Would you have been down for something like that?
If that was something that you guys wanted. And it's so interesting that you bring that up because I've been noticing more with like some of the single people in this crew, male and female, where they do crave that connection afterwards. And I remember even being in a couple in partnership, hearing from the single people where they're like, "Oh, sometimes it's hard to go home alone."
Mm,
I don't really have that. I don't
Got
have
it.
that as a single person, but I think that's
yeah.
because I am so disconnected from my body right now, where it's like I can't even have like super affectionate connections, right? Because I'm like, I'm afraid I'm gonna hurt somebody. Like, I don't know if I have the bandwidth for that. So I'm like, I'm so guarded about making sure that I'm not leading anybody on, that it's like really sort of conflicting in that sense. But
Interesting.
yeah, but if it was something that you guys wanted where you're like, oh, we'd love to like, connect or wake up or something together, then I'd be like, okay, sure. But it would not be an ask from me. I actually personally, from dating, I have a rule where I don't do sleepovers.
Well,
Your
you're
Wait,
faces.
okay. So you're confused? I'm confused right now. I'm so okay, so you don't do sleepovers
Typically, no.
even with people that you know.
Correct.
why?
I feel like that's really intimate. And it, again, this could just be my history, but I feel like consistently when um no matter how much else communicate like, hey, this is kind of like I'm just looking for something casual, XYZ, like at some point it changes for them. And I'll bring it up and they're like, no, 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 we're still friends. And it's just like, then I have to manage their emotions. And that's just like my trauma growing up. Like I always had to manage like my mom's emotions, family's emotions. And so I'm just like not in a place where I wanted to do that. I would love for people to speak up for themselves. And
Mm.
for me, I'm just not looking to get too intimate with anybody where I think that there's that potential for something more when it's not a place that I'm in.
Do you find yourself holding back from particular relationships? Like it would feel good to be, more whatever with them, but it sounds like you're so afraid of hurting people that maybe you're like censoring yourself a little bit. Do you do that?
Yeah.
Mm,
And I think it's a bandwidth thing, right? Where it's like a lot of my time right now is in like business and working on myself and the projects that I have that it's like I don't want to end up being like, oh, she like didn't text me this morning or think
yeah.
like it's like, the typical things where if I was really invested and want to commit, like I would be like sending you flowers, all of these things. And I'm just like, knowing that I would be a failure in that, like, why put someone else in that position until I
Mm,
really get there?
that makes
I
sense.
respect that. I respect the hell out of that.
I, of course, respect it, but also this may be controversial and we can cut it if you get mad at me. But do you suspect that that's codependent by you perhaps trying to manage other people's feelings and maybe not acting completely authentic to yourself because you're so afraid of hurting somebody? It's loving and it's
Hmm.
sweet and it's wonderful of you to be so considerate. But do you think that's also codependent?
Codependent to not do that,
It,
to
w-
not
to, if
get attached.
like it would be codependent to be so worried about someone else's feelings.
Oh, interesting. I don't know if it is a worry, but I think it's the exhaustion that's accompanied by it.
Okay.
So for me, I'm like, I already don't have the bandwidth to give them what I think that they deserve,
Ah.
let alone on top of that, making them feel better over me knowing that I wouldn't have been able to do that in the first place. Then I already
Mm,
know, like, okay, my cup's gonna be like here,
mhm.
completely depleted.
You're like, "I can give 20% right now, and if I'm not able to give 100, then I'm not gonna."
Yeah, like I'll give you the 20%. I'll do my best to communicate, like, hey, here's kind of what I'm capable of. Um, hoping that that expectation, aligns. And if you're like, hey, 20% doesn't, make a lot of sense for me, I'd be like, absolutely, like, I respect that,
Yeah.
you know?
No, I think that's cool. I think it's cool, like, how well you seem to, like, know yourself, I think that, like, you're really fucking cool and beautiful and sexy, and anyway, um, so you were talking about projects. You've been doing a lot of, like, project stuff and, like, kink stuff, and, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, you were in
Oh, can
Playboy?
we talk about Playboy? Okay,
Yeah.
so
Oh my
there
god.
because this will come out right before the Playboy spread comes out, right?
Yes.
All right, can you tell everybody what's happening on Playboy?
What the hell? How do you I mean, I could see how you got in Playboy, but, like, how did it start?
It's so funny because I had posted teasers of like, "Ooh, it's exciting things coming soon on Playboy," and I feel like people thought like you're gonna be like a bunny spread. No, dude. The minute I was like, "Can I pick my own wardrobe?" I had like Boss Babe blazer, just like tits, just like slightly out because I was just like, it is about me, being the marketing director for Lovely Fate, which is a sex positive club here in LA, and so they wanted to do a piece on what does that look like? What does a sex positive club in LA look like? And I think I love that because Playboy has had an evolutionary journey of what sexuality looks like. It's been through such a focused lens from a male gaze for decades. And this was their first print issue in like 5 years. And I feel like they've really sort of come with the times and put emphasis behind like community, women led, and that sort of realm. And so I think it was really exciting to advocate on behalf of Lovely Fate because it didn't feel like it was, oh, here's like the sexy angle and just like that sort of realm. Like they really took to, and kudos to the writer and the team for really making us feel safe in this article because we weren't entirely sure about it. But they talked about, the conversations around lifestyle, the community, and like represented it in a way where I feel like it identifies with what we actually feel versus like how many movies and shows have you seen where you're just like, oh, like that
Right.
is not what it's fucking like.
Yep. And we can cut this too. I'm just genuinely curious. Did you have like connects with Playboy before this? Did you just reach out to them?
It was a random email from a Gmail into the account, and I was like, "Is this legit?" And so, like, I have a background in journalism and PR, so it's like I reached out to a bunch of contacts and even put it on Instagram, and a bunch of people connected me. So, like, by the time it hit the editor in chief, he was like, "I've had 6 people talk to me about this already." Like,
Nice.
and for me, like, for me, what I was doing from in the due diligence, I was like, okay, if I can verify that one, this is a legitimate writer, it is exclusively going in Playboy, then I don't see why they would write like a negative piece.
Right.
And I think, once that was sort of established, I'm like, this is a great opportunity to sort of shed light into what our world is really like,
Hmm.
without that stigma, more from like a loving community place that we know it to be.
Right. It's not
Yeah.
all just hedonistic, crazy nakedness. I mean, it is a little bit, but it's
Yeah.
bigger than that. It's
Eh,
deeper than that.
yeah.
There's more love than
Well,
that.
is there still nakedness in Playboy? There is?
They brought the titties back. They took the titties out for a while. The titties are back, empowered for the girls who want to do it, want to participate in it and stuff like that. So
Oh my
could
God.
have had titty. I
Okay,
was
would
like,
you ever do Playboy if they asked you?
oh God, if maybe 10 years ago, but I appreciate that.
What?
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 Yeah. Oh my God.
We're
Playboy,
not even
Listen,
can you
we
hear me, Playboy?
I've always been very behind the scenes forever. You know what I mean? It's like what I love, like I'm still in touch with their team. Like I'm having coffee with like the editor in chief to like talk about like different things that they could shine a light on in lifestyle. And so I love that they recognize the responsibility, I hope, that they have in positioning lifestyle in the way that it's supposed to be. Right. Because that's really going to differentiate them from any other publication, any other TV, and any other show. It's
Mhm,
like really getting to the grassroots of what does this community look like from an actual insider's lens.
mhm.
And so I'm super excited that they're taking that sort of seriously.
Thank you for doing that,
Yeah.
honestly, because I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how to get, our voice across in that way besides, doing a podcast or something. But like that, you're right. There's so many shows and movies that aren't portraying our lifestyle in the right way whatsoever. So thank you for just showing the world who we really are.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I'm
really cool.
stoked to be a part of it.
Yeah, and thanks for being on today. I hope that like just from listening to you, people have gotten some inspiration on like, hey, I can go in and out of relationships and still be my authentic self and find
Mhm.
what I really want in my
Yeah.
life.
We're
Yeah.
gonna have to have you back on. I have like 10 billion more questions.
Done.
So
Done.
we'll have part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of Vanessa.
And dungeon. So we are
I
We
was
so
were
gonna
gonna
be
look.
go
like,
to a
so we went to
dungeon.
the dungeon. I finally fucked Layla with my beautiful strap
Had
on.
a strap
This is
on.
important. We are trying to like continue like storylines to get them to their completion. So if you
Mhm.
really are down to go to a dungeon, we will
Let's
update
go.
We're gonna
people
do it.
Let's
on the
go.
progress. All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
Is
thanks for
there
having me, you guys.
before we let you go, is there anything you want to share with the audience, like where they can find you on social if you want to be found?
Yes, yeah. And so I've recently started becoming a lot more public with my journey through lifestyle because I've had so many people ask questions and I think you guys are doing an amazing job and so I'm just like another, asset in the space. So the frisky flirt is sort of what I've opened. That's actually my what's it called?
Oh, we
Fetlife
didn't we
name.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I've just sort of like continued that over. So it's the frisky flirt on social and I'm sharing sort of like my journey, friends that I'm talking to, questions that they have from, the vanilla world to although by the way, vanilla people don't like being called vanilla. I'm really trying to switch to non
So then what are you gonna call them? What's the
just
term?
non-lifestyle as of now until we think of a cuter term, but they get quite offended when
my
we say it.
mom
They're
my
like,
mom gets mad. I'll be like, like the vanilla. She's like, "I'm not
Yeah,
vanilla."
they don't like it.
"Ah,
They don't
they
like
dude,
it.
I think we collectively need to
Wait,
But
come up with a
do we
rebrand."
like terms like swinger? I don't love E&M. I think like
I like
I don't know who came up
non-monogamy,
some professors
lifestyle.
some professor came up with all these terms and we're all just kind of sticking to them
Let's
versus choosing something
rebrand. Let's
else.
Uh-huh.
rebrand.
I'll say like non-monogs
Non-monogs.
or like No? Or like not non-monog forget it, whatever.
None of it sounds sexy to
I
me.
know, this sucks.
Anyway, all right. So, like, wait, the frisky flirt.
Yeah, so the frisky flirt. Vanessa Duffy is sort of like my personal travel, crazy wildness, and motorcycle Yoshi adventures, and then the frisky flirt is gonna be really dedicated to like answering questions and turning curiosity into confidence and lifestyle.
Awesome, love it. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Am I wrapping up today, or you want to wrap up?
Do you wanna moan? I'm gonna let you moan. All right.
I,
You have to do it really good. If you don't, I'm gonna make you do it again. Little subby Brian, you ready? All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And with that, we hope that you try something or someone new.
Ah.
I